right, so we are recording now. We've got our service group. We've got Coach Tucker. We got myself, Coach Bernie, and we have a very special guest with us today. Coach Ruschell has agreed to join us. Obviously, Nick's got his UTC shirt on. I put mine on for the show as well today.
That's right.
So, yeah, had to represent a couple of old timers over here, old alum. Just a little bit before Coach Ruschell's time there. Before he took over as the head coach. But, I've emailed with Coach Ruschell a couple times. Nick's been up there a handful of times recently. And like I said earlier before we started recording, just glad to have you here today and appreciate you taking time out of your schedule just to chat with a couple of old-timers and our little show that we've been doing here.
No, thanks for having me. It's refreshing to see other faces except for just my guys on my team or – my coaches or our staff in general. So it's kind of fun to talk wrestling because you don't get it as much as I'm used to.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, that's going to be one of the questions I had. I'm going to go ahead and jump right on in with just kind of on that note before we get into some background stuff. Like with seeing your guys, like, has it been, and I know you've posted things like with just Zoom meetings or team meetings and or the other coaches, like, I know both Nick and I are teachers and educators, and we had to do that for a while for the semester. But with you being a different part of these guys' lives and stuff, and now we're getting into summertime and kind of like our time with our students has kind of ended, but you have a different relationship with your guys. Like, how are they doing? What's the general vibe from like kids in college and that kind of thing? And how are they keeping up with all this?
Just going with COVID and now the stuff that's going on, they're just anxious. Right? Anxious to get back to work, anxious to wrestle, anxious to get some of this stuff behind them. We had 3 guys that qualified that didn't get to wrestle at the national tournament. So our guys are just anxious to, kind of get back to a little bit of a normalcy. And I have guys texting and calling me all the time just asking, hey, Coach, when can we come back? When can we come back? And I have to be like, well, you just got to hold tight. I think it's going to be sooner rather than later for us because Tennessee's opening up quite a bit faster than other states. And our guys are positive with that, but still they're itching to get back in the wrestling room and be normal a little bit.
Yeah.
I was going to say, follow up with that. Like sometimes you hear like the kids are anxious or the kids are ready, but the parents may be kind of hesitant. What's the vibe you're getting from the parents up there?
I think our parents are ready to get almost ready to get our guys out of their house. They've had a couple of years with some of them not being in the house, and now they've had 82 days of the guys in their houses with them. I think they love them. They want them to be safe, but I think for the best of their children, they need to get out and start being somewhat normal. And I think people are getting on edge a little bit and hoping we can get back to normal. But our parents, we have a great group of parents. They want our guys to be safe, but also they know, hey, these guys got to live their lives and see each other and wrestle.
Yeah. All right. So that was your current guys. And so I was obviously following online social media. I saw, I think I might have seen it this morning, but it was posted yesterday. Adam Duncan tagged it. He said one of his West Oak guys signed to come on and, extend his wrestling career over at Chattanooga, which is always great. We love seeing that. Adam's a great guy, wrestled with Nick and myself. But how has that process been with one, like when you didn't get to go to the tournament and all that kind of stuff ended, and then like that recruitment time period and window, and like how are these kids like, and I'm sure this is a little bit different with those moms because like, not only are they sending their kids off for the first time, but now they're sending their kids off in kind of the middle of this pandemic and other stuff that's going on in this time period. Like, how's that working out? Or how different does that landscape look when it comes to recruiting?
So recruiting's just been flipped on its head. And it's still, we're not allowed to be out and recruit. We can't do high school camps. We can't do anything until after July 31st. And so that's 2 more months. So from March through July, we can't have direct contact with any recruits. And so I feel just terrible for those recruits. Like me, when I was in high school, I didn't really recruit it until my senior year after my high school state tournament. I went on all my visits during spring break. And so guys like me, they didn't get to go on these visits. They didn't get to go make a statement at senior nationals or somewhere and then have new eyes on them. And so I feel so bad for them. But one thing we've done, and I know other schools have done this, but we did virtual tours with probably 6 or 7 kids. We showed them, basically introduced ourselves. We showed them who we are, what we're about, our team philosophy, what each guy we expect out of. And then we kind of just went through campus, what it kind of looked like, and talked about the city of Chattanooga and that type of stuff. But I think that's going to help us down the road, one, to save money recruiting and to say, hey, is this something you find yourself wanting to be a part of? And then we can get them here and spend money on them instead of getting them here and they're like, oh, I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's going to help a lot of schools kind of weed out those guys that might not fit your program. But just those kids that never got a chance or late to the game or aren't going to be recruited as much. And so the positive that comes out of it is if we were on a kid early, we have a better shot of getting them because maybe they've already come on campus and they don't have a chance to go anywhere else. Yeah. But you want them to know, hey, Chattanooga is the place for me, right?
Yeah.
And so we have 1 or 2 kids still holding out and hoping that they can come down on campus, but they're going to have to make a decision here relatively soon because, heck, school's going to start in August.
So you and I talked this fall when I was up there. You kind of gave me the sales pitch, but you just mentioned it. That's what we kind of said. So, like, what is the sales pitch? We all know. You know, we're Chattanooga alums. You know, we're supporters. We love the program. But like that kid comes on the virtual tour, that kid comes through right now, and they can't set foot. What is the sales pitch? How are you guys letting them know that this is an awesome place and there's great things happening?
I mean, there's a long list of things that make Chattanooga definitely a special place. And the thing that probably hits the hardest when we're recruiting on this virtual tour is getting them here, right? And so when they get here, they realize how cool of a place this is. They realize how the alumni are so passionate about it, how everybody around the athletic department have some tie with wrestling. And so it's awesome. So we try to incorporate that in our virtual tour as much as possible. And be like, hey, our athletic director, he came to Penn State and he was a liaison for fundraising for the wrestling team. Like, he loves wrestling and he's going to make sure we do everything he can, right? Our academic advisor is married to an ex-wrestler, Lindsay Felix, right? And so everybody, Ethan Reeve was the head coach here. Everybody has ties. Right. And that's the thing that we can't really have the guys feel. But the sales pitch, I hate calling it sales because I don't want to be a salesman, but one thing that we've taken the time on is what is our identity as a team? And we went through it as a staff, and it's, hey, we need to pressure, position, motion, and get off our knees. And it's like, hey, that's one thing that everybody needs to wrestle like, right? Doesn't mean you shoot a high crotch and everybody shoots a high crotch. You can take any shot you want, but these 4 things we all have to be great at, right? And then we just kind of hit, like, we are a hardworking, just passionate, and I want to kick somebody's butt and probably under the radar type of group of people, right? And so if they can get on board with that, that's kind of, hey, we can hit the ground running when they get here.
Really cool. I mean, and I think we've started seeing that with the I like the fight for every point type of mentality and everything. I think that's been dead on. And watching Chattanooga wrestling again, watching UTC wrestling again, and seeing some of the scrap that we've seen with that fight for every point mentality. I think you just kind of expressed all that just now too. Really,
right, and people will come watch a fight, right? Mm-hmm. They'll come watch a fight. UFC is huge. MMA is big, but if we're wrestling Iowa, yeah, we might be outgunned, but if our guys are in the match and they're fighting, everybody will come watch that stuff, right? Oh, yeah. Give ourselves a chance. Make it, well, man, I don't want to wrestle Chattanooga again. They don't quit, right? And so that's kind of stuff we preach on our guys every single day is, hey, it doesn't matter what the situation. There could be 30 seconds left on the clock. You get a pin, you win, man. Go after it. Get in their legs and score. And that's the way I felt like I wrestled, and that's the only way I think we can win is if we constantly are looking to better ourselves and fight for every point, fight for every little position. And if you do give up a point, get the next one. right? Just go get the next one. And so our guys hear it all the time. They're sick of it, but you can clearly see they're getting it. They're getting it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, totally.
I like that one with the, if you give them a point, go get the next one. That's just kind of that mentality of just progressively moving forward and continuing with everything. So that's great. And I think, that just also leads into just everything going on in the world today and whatnot. Like, that mentality that wrestlers have and that you preach right there, and like things that these young men can take with them for the rest of their lives. You may give up a point, but go get that next one, no matter what it is that we do. So
one thing I tell my guys, and it's very, I don't know if it's cliche or whatever, but you can go through a practice and fall down. You get taken down literally 100 times in one practice, and guess what? You get back on your feet, and you're expected to go back and do it again and again, right? That's life right there. You got constantly in any situation you're in, and whoever you are. And right now, a lot of things are going on in the world. Everybody's going to get knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
It's, hey, you got to get right back up. You got to get in the fight, and you got to keep bettering yourself.
It's awesome. And then as you're talking to Coach Tyler over here, an assistant coach, and the other co-host was able to get the link on and pop on in here. So in case you were wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about the messy hair right now. It's been time for my barber shop to open, and it's a bird's nest up here. But no, I mean, I totally love what he's saying. I mean, it's one thing that like we like to tell our guys, whether you win or lose, because I mean we're just at the middle school level, but like whether you win or lose, it's always good for your opponent to walk off the mat thinking like, I'm glad that's over. I'm glad we finally got that match over with. I don't want to go back out there against them. So.
You got to put a little bit of fear in their head, win or lose.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I don't want to wrestle that dude.
Yeah, it's like even if they beat you, it's like that was not an easy win. That's gonna take a lot out of you. So, but I mean, that's a great mentality to have.
Yeah, get that feeling of like we want to see that guy on the other swant of the bracket, not on our side anymore. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly right. We want to be that bad matchup first round at nationals.
Yeah.
We want to be. Oh man, we might have a 17 seed, but they're like, crap, we got Chattanooga. I don't want that. Like, it could have been anybody else. That's what we want to get to, right?
That's awesome.
And I'm guessing that's the first stage in the progression as you're growing this program. All right, we got to look at where we are now, and we got to become the bad matchup to eventually become the high seed matchup to become the All-American projection.
Absolutely. And as we get better and better with technique and stuff, that mentality can't change. Right. And so that 5-10 years down the road, if we're getting higher level recruits, those basics can't change, or else we'll start losing because we're losing in the fight. And now we hate wrestling that guy that's wrestling like us. Right. And so those are the basics that we preach all the time. Coach Reed does a great job, even in the weight room, yelling at these guys about getting the fight, battle, holding good position. He'll have them ham fighting in the weight room before it weighs. And so he promotes it in all aspects, right? Whether it's weightlifting, whether it's running, we're telling, hey, fight that guy in front of you, like get past him, right? And we're doing it in everything. And so the guys hear it a lot, and so it's second nature to them.
That's good. I think Nick had written this down as one of the questions, and you mentioned like you're recruiting and going to Wisconsin and being up that way. What brought you, like, we've talked about how you want to bring people to Chattanooga, like, your motto and like the team philosophy, and like I said, not really a sales pitch, but the lifestyle that you want for these guys here. What brought you to Chattanooga? Like, what was there?
So originally Heath Esslinger, he had done things that I had never done before as an assistant coach. So Heath ran a great camp. He's run the scuffle. He can talk very well in front of a group of people. He can motivate. Like he's great. And so originally knowing all those things and being just a great family man and Christian, I wanted to learn from him. Right. And so originally I came and interviewed for the job 3 years prior. I don't know what that was, 16 or something like that. 2016. It wasn't a right time for me. Probably wasn't the right time for him to bring me on either. And so I fell in love with kind of the community UTC has, and it's beautiful here. I could see myself raising a family, and the people are, I feel, a little bit more like me from the South. I want to give those kids from Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama. I want to give those kids more opportunities, right? And I see myself in this community a little bit more than I did in the Big Ten when I got there. And so that's all the things that kind of attracted me to it. But when I got here, it just amplified it that much more, and it was the right decision. It was like, man, this place is awesome. We have alumni and families around here that just brought me and my wife in and made us feel right at home right away. And they love the sport. I don't have to teach them what a takedown is. They're yelling at the referee for stalling before I am. Like that's what this community makes it so special, is people know wrestling here, and it's very important. And that it gets me jacked up and excited.
Yeah.
I'll take that. I want to jump on because I was listening to not us, but they interviewed a App State coach a couple of days ago, and I was listening to that when I was doing my workouts this morning. They asked him, so I want to ask you, was there ever any talk with the COVID of sports being cut, because we've seen it around, of wrestling or any sports at Chattanooga being put on the cutting block because of loss of finances or anything?
No. Mark Wharton, our AD, has done an absolute great job of doing what he can to make us safe. Right. And so he's told us, hey, all of our belts will be tightened, right, and put 150-mile radius on a lot of other sports for competition. But he has made it sure, like, hey, we're really going to work our butts off on not letting anybody go, not furloughing anybody, not doing anything. So I think they've done a great job over the last couple of years. Before I got here, I didn't really know what all the finances were, but from what I've been told is they've done a great job getting ahead of anything like this. And so they were smart with their money prior, and it's not like we get a whole bunch of money for our athletic department. So they know what to do when they only have a little bit of money, and they've done a great job. And for us personally, what was great was we did so many competitions away last year. Mm-hmm. And so this next year we have 9 home events, if you include the scuffle. And so we don't have to travel as many times away, so we will get to go further than a lot of other sports. But no, he's done a great job. Everybody feels pretty safe and confident that we'll be back to normal within 1 year.
Cool. Yeah, that wasn't on the list, but it just hit me as you were talking. And Coach Bentley,
Yep.
App State. We thought about that, and just obviously as alumni, it means a lot to us. So wanted to make sure.
And I know they just get bumped up to FCS or FBS over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And so
somewhere.
That's a little bit different ball game than what we have to play with.
That's true.
Yeah, it's never fun. I think I just saw something where they've dropped 122 programs outside of wrestling. They've only dropped 1 or 2 Division I wrestling programs, but 122 other sports have been dropped. And so it's a scary time, especially if athletic departments weren't doing a great job financially prior to this.
Yeah, I think Moyer sent that out. So
yeah, which we do see happening, because like we see wrestling programs apparently, they get dropped, or they may even had a successful All-American or somebody, and then it kind of like comes back to what you just said. It seems like the athletic department not kind of financially being responsible, or them not being on a stable enough ground, which is, a scary thought that could happen. But at the same time, I think people knowing that kind of thing, Chattanooga being ahead of that curve and knowing what it takes, and having, like you said, everybody there be invested in it, and like so many people loving the sport and wanting to make sure. So, I think that's great.
Wrestling's important here. It really is. Our AD walks down for a football game, and he stops at the wrestling tailgate every single time and hangs out with all of our alumni that are there for a good 15, 20, 30 minutes sometimes. And that's important to wrestling. Like, that's important to our alumni. That's important for our athletic department too, to realize the support that we have here. And then him being a wrestling guy, he goes to nationals every year. That always helps. If you have an AD that loves the sport, he's less likely to drop it, right? And so we're definitely fortunate to have him here.
Well, piggyback on Nick's question here. This is something that just popped in my head. What is your opinion on, what do you think that, so I'm kind of formulating this in my head as I go, but what do you think tournaments are going to look like this coming season? Especially, I know for you guys, like hosting a scuffle. I mean, what's the scuffle going to look
So there's a lot of talk of a lot of different things, right? A lot of teams aren't going to be able to fly this next year. So I don't know technically what the scuffle will look like. I think we're a little bit safer just because we're on the East Coast and people can bus here at least, especially ACC schools and SoCon schools. But I think it'll all start with maybe timing. I don't know. They've taken a survey on if coaches want to start January 1.
Right.
If that's the case, we could bump nationals back to April. And if that's the case, I don't know if – so, like, my schedule's set right now. And if that happens, I'll have to move our SoCon back and then get, like, November and December in that first January. But what will we do with the scuffle? I'm not really sure right now. I think we might just leave it where it's at. Especially if this is just a one-year thing, and just be like, hey, this is the first tournament of the year. Let's go, right?
You know, in a way, that would be kind of awesome, though. Like,
yeah, it really would.
It would be like the kickoff of wrestling season. What better way to do it than with a tournament like the Scuffle? So
yeah, and they've been talking for
That's
a decade.
awesome.
They've been talking for a decade, moving it to one semester, and
Right.
I like the idea of it because of coming in as a freshman. That first semester is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Getting off on the right foot with a good GPA. Not having to think about cutting weight. Like, that's huge for some of these kids when they first come in. That, and you'll also see more and more kids wrestling right away. Instead of saying, I don't know if he's ready, that type of stuff. Hey, let's wait a full semester. Let's get his academics, everything in order. And then, hey, this kid's ready to go. And so I think there's a lot of positives. And I think GPAs and keeping kids around is one big one. APR is huge, right?
Yeah.
Especially with our sport. I think we're one of the worst 4 or 5, and we got to get up towards the middle. And so going to one semester will definitely help that.
Absolutely. I mean, me and Coach Purdy, we've had this conversation a lot before. You know, you get guys coming in. When it's 2 semesters, you have that little period of the holidays, which is, I mean, you know, that's a big deal for, you know, some people. So, I mean, moving it to one semester would give those kids that opportunity, you know, to visit family, maybe.
I think that's where we lose kids in general.
Mm-hmm.
All up and down wrestling. Who wants to cut weight during Thanksgiving? I can tell you this much. I didn't really eat a Thanksgiving dinner all through college, except for maybe my red year. Maybe I had a little bit, but really I didn't go home for Thanksgiving. I was stuck in Madison, Wisconsin, and I had to stay there, and I'd eat a little bit with my friends, but then we had a dual meet against you and I usually every year that Sunday, and it's not fun, right? And even at the high school level and elementary school, that like kids want to eat and, you know, be around family and have Christmas cookies. Dang it, who doesn't like Christmas cookies? But I think this will help a lot of those things of, hey, you can go home during fall break and relax before we really get kick-started right in January. I think it gives a lot of positives. I think we can save a couple kids and keep kids around a little bit longer.
Definitely.
That's a perspective I hadn't thought about. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, heck, everybody's top thing. What do they like about Thanksgiving? Like, you just start naming like your favorite foods more than what do you like more than anything else. So, you know, and as a wrestler,
I mean, this is like, I'm one of those people who fries a turkey every year now. So
yeah, when you start talking about Thanksgiving, it's very rare you see a frown on somebody's face. You're like, oh yeah, I love stuffing, right? I love the mashed potatoes. I like the turkey, whatever it is. It puts a smile on somebody's face. And if you're a wrestler, you're like, ah.
With the memories of like, oh man, like the stories of like, I walked into the kitchen, smelled it, and gained 5 pounds. I don't know what happened, Coach. Like,
Coach, I didn't eat anything, I promise. But sure you did.
Yeah.
I might.
It's something we've all said over Thanksgiving. I didn't eat it.
But I do think it gives us as coaches a little bit of an opportunity at the college level, at least, is if the kids can't go home, inviting them at our house and we can kind of hang out with them and really dive into them as people a little bit more. That's the thing that we might lose, but you can get around that. You could have dinners, grill outs, all that type of stuff throughout the whole
yeah, for sure. I think
there's something about inviting them to your place during a holiday makes them feel a little bit more like family.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a big thing about going off to college and stuff too, because I remember when I went to Chattanooga, my parents, Army family, were still overseas and whatnot. So, and that's one of the reasons why Nick and myself bonded so quickly. It's kind of like we kind of all found like who's got the closest home that was not a like local home. So like all of us that were out of town went to like the closest out of town home together, and then just kind of built that bond. And like you said, over holiday meals and vacations and stuff like that, you do build that. So
yeah, and I think at any level, whether my dad's a high school coach, my older brother's a middle school coach, I think at any level, some of the most important things that make a strong team are families. Mm-hmm. So the parents, and we have great parents here that some of them fly in for Thanksgiving or whenever, and they invite 10 guys over for dinner or a hangout or something like that. Or Thanksgiving, we have guys right here in Georgia, and the parents are like, hey, if anybody's stuck, come on over. Right. And so I think any strong team comes a strong family, especially in wrestling. And it's definitely at every level. My dad's going through it right now. He has a great group of parents that are helping him build a state championship team.
Yeah. I mean, family is so very important. And I think, that was one of the things that we all talked about here on the show, like, just with the initial thing with the COVID and everybody being quarantined and staying at home, and just realizing for some people how important, who are you like sometimes felt stuck with at times because you couldn't leave the house or whatnot.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, also who was there? Who are you with? Who could you be around? And, that core value of family. And I think you saw, and you could still see it to this day, those with that strong family connection seem to be able to push through hard times that much easier, having that person to fall back onto. And that family coming in so many forms, Nick and Tyler, and, they're closer to me here in the South, and my family, even though they're out of the military, like my parents are out in Washington State, so so family comes in a lot of different forms, but having those close family bonds, is really what gets all of us through just about everything, whether it be wrestling season, school, life, and everything's going on right now. You got to have that family core.
Yeah, I'm 3 years into my marriage, or soon to be, and I looked at my wife the other day. I'm like, 80 days. I'm surprised you haven't killed me yet, but two, yes, we're really meant to be together because we haven't had too many blow-ups. She'll go, if she gets annoyed with me, she'll go on a walk for about an hour, and then I'll go for a run afterwards. But it's been actually pretty good for us, but we're really lucky. And I know we've had a couple alumni reach out to us and groups of people and say, hey, if you guys need to get out and come hang out with us, come on over. And so that's definitely that family atmosphere that UTC has. It's definitely special.
For sure. So, and then you talked about like the South and everything, and kind of jumping ship, kind of keeping us moving along here. Coach Tyler and I talked about it too, like, bringing opportunities to the South. I really liked how just like the name of the RTC that Chattanooga has there. It's not Chattanooga RTC. It's RTC South. And I think I thought that was really cool when all that came out, and, you guys having the RTC there and being able to build things. And I know Nick and I have an obvious question on, with the RTC and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how is, one, love the name RTC South, love the fact that it's that way and building that for that community. But obviously we all know Dan Dennis left. We thought he was a great fit for Chattanooga, just who he was as a person, his kind of like lifestyle fit the, mountains of Chattanooga and all that. I guess the same question with recruiting, with coaching staffs and stuff like that. How's that going? How does that work? I mean, is it just the same type of thing? Are you like virtual, like, hey, come to Chattanooga, be the RTC coach? Like, how does that work in the coaching staff versus recruiting staff?
So right now we kind of put a hold on it, on hiring a head coach for that. One, but I don't know if a lot of people realize, at the time, I think we were one of 5 or 6 programs that had a head RTC coach. There weren't many head RTC coaches. There was RTCs at, Wisconsin had one, but they didn't, like Ben Askren, I guess it was officially their RTC coach. He was one. Brandon Slay was another. Perry was another. But other than that, I mean, I can't really name too many. Yeah, right? So there weren't many head RTC coaches. But, yeah, we have a couple eyes on a couple of guys. But right now with fundraising is really tough. with COVID that's going on.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure it's the right fit. So I want to make sure they come down here and feel it before we jump on somebody just to make sure, hey, whoever you are, like, this is going to fit you. No, we want another guy like Dan Dennis that fits the program. He's just a hardworking dude that loves the sport. And that's what we need here, is somebody that just loves the sport, gives his everything into it. And you say, hey, Dan, can you go do that? Yes. And he'll go do it. And we need another guy just like that. And so we've kind of put a hold on the RTC hiring. But once this stuff comes back to somewhat normalcy, one, we'll be looking for somebody to fill that spot. But two, we'll be running the RTC in the meantime to make sure kids get what they need. Yeah, that doesn't give you any fun gossip or anything like that. We're just putting a hold on it for right now until we can at least have people really look at it.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, definitely makes 100% sense. And then, like I said, just being alum of the program and everything, loved when we heard that we were getting an RTC, and then kind of loved the name. And then, we had Dennis there, and, it's kind of like, obviously we just want to see it continue to grow and do good things and stuff like that. So, of course we're going to ask those couple questions.
Yeah. I expected that one.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the growing, you and I talked, so what's the plans on expanding the wrestling facility? I know it's not in the dungeon where we were, which is kind of sad, but kind of cool. But then you look around at all these places, even in SoCon, getting upgrades, and it's nice, but as a long way, it could be better. What's the word? I know COVID's put a hold on stuff, but what's the word we're hearing?
So there was talk, at least starting to talk about expanding our room or moving us or doing something. And right when I kind of developed my own plans and said, hey, this is what it could look like if you gave me free reign on this place. And Mark Wharton goes, okay, like, print that out and let me look at it. And then COVID happened like 2 weeks later. And so he wants to get us what we need. And he asked me what I needed. I'm like, I need 3 mats, and I need a little extra space for cardio equipment. Right. And so, and then we need to redo our locker room and stuff, but our wrestling room's the main priority. That's where our guys are going to get best right now. And so we need a little bit more mat space so our guys aren't falling over each other. But he's definitely in full support of it. And it's just probably going to take another couple of years to even talk about it. I don't know. Maybe one more year. He said we'll be back to normal in a year. So hopefully then we can start talking about it again. But I mean, my dream would be taking over that whole gym, right? That whole gym, take it all over. We could fit 3 mats and have either a weight room area or some kind of tumbling med ball slam type area, rope climbs, all that type of stuff. And you could still have bleachers in there for alumni that come back and they can watch practice. Recruits can sit on that bleachers, and then a whole bunch of cardio equipment down the side. And so there's a lot of room in there, but it's going to be interesting over the next year to see what happens.
Yeah, I think with just how they talk about everything coming up, like the rebuilding process of, the economy and everything, to see that.
And UTC's growing. What's crazy is I just found out that our enrollments increased from last year, where a lot of other schools have seen a decrease in enrollment. And so we're ahead of the curve a little bit, and they're constantly building something new or renovating something on campus.
Yeah, it always looks different every time we go back.
Yeah, right? Heck, since I've been here, they redid an entire street. It's unbelievable. And then the athletic department's also building onto McKenzie Arena. It's going to be football offices and a meeting area, and have some really cool stuff in there. Make the training room bigger and up to date. And so hopefully after that we'll be relatively next. But it's nice that the athletic department's still growing and increasing their facilities. That's for sure.
No doubt.
I think when we're looking at like list of questions that we had for you, Tyler had one talking about like growing the sport and what's good for keeping guys and the retention. And I think we found like it's been one of those good things for like middle school programs and high school programs. But Tyler, I'll let you go ahead and ask what you.
Oh yeah, I mean it was we've talked about it for a while. It's you're seeing a lot of schools, especially in like middle school and even some high schools, going to these like fight shorts and compression tops. And I was just curious what what do you think about, what do you think about wrestling teams going to that? I mean, I know some people have more of an old school mentality, like if you don't like the singlet, then
it's
out, or
singlet. So yeah, wrestling.
Yeah.
Right?
Because we've had that discussion a lot with high school and middle school people. We've never been able to ask at the higher level, like what are their
That's
thoughts?
where you lose most of your kids, right? And so I think it changes where you lose most of your kids. These kids don't practice in we're not overseas. We don't practice in singlets, right?
Yeah.
And like at the college level, you're seeing it more and more. But the high school level, they're wearing. Heck, some kids are wearing gym shoes on the mat. Like some kids don't have wrestling shoes.
Yeah.
They're wearing shorts and a t-shirt at practice. You have practice 3 times a week, right? Or twice a week. How many injuries or shirts or hands are getting caught in the clothes? Not many, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you might have a match where a kid might pull a t-shirt because it's loose, and you could argue that, but why not just have shorts and a t-shirt, or shorts and a compression shirt, or something along those lines? I think that's fine. At the college level, I particularly right? I just think you're not going to lose the college athlete because of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, hey, have the singlet at the college level, but I think the elementary and middle school levels, even high school, why not? I think you could do some really cool stuff with T-shirts, right? When it comes to logos, and heck, you can put the weight class in the back and just like a number on a jersey. Like you can do some really cool stuff. And so I think it makes the clothing look cool and the kids feel cool. Why not? It's not about that, but why not? It doesn't hurt. And so I definitely support it at that level. It's just the college level would wear a singlet.
Yeah.
What about as like a one-time event, or not one-time event, but like a one-time match? Like, so you have a duel meet, and it's a home win, and so you got a lot of hype building up to it. What about for having it for just like one dual meet? What would you think about something like that?
I'll try anything for one dual meet. I mean, I had a lot of ideas where I actually had them at Wisconsin, and I'd like to get to the point where we can use some of the ideas here. Is setting up a rivalry, and it's a military night every year, and we have a camo singlet, and it's our camo singlet versus theirs, and we honor the military each time. So if it's App State, they wear whatever they want to. We have a blue camo singlet with the yellow Power C on it, right? They do whatever they want to do, right? And so that could be a singlet every year that we use. We set up an old school UTC with the periods, and have an old school, make it kind of new, but an old school singlet. Right. Yeah. And that's our alumni singlet that we use every year
for the alumni match.
Tradition a little bit. And so having maybe a youth night where we're wearing a compression shirt and shorts. Sure. I'll try anything, right? Anything to try something new and different. I think Heath was pretty good with that, doing outside stuff, and having at his wrestle offs at the First Tennessee Pavilion. I think what did he do? Like a candlelight night or something like that, where he had dinner and stuff.
Yeah, they had the dinner tickets one time. Maybe twice. I remember that. Yeah.
And our athletic department and staff is awesome. If we come up with an idea, they'll be like, yes. So we did an outside duel at Miller Park last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was 32 degrees the morning of it, and they're like, "Do you want to pull the plug?" I was like, "Give me until noon. Let's see how hot it gets." And it got up in the 50s, but at the time they're like, "Oh man, Kyle, come on!" And full support. They were great. They made it work, and they even gave us heaters from football to make it at least somewhat warm for our guys on the bench. And so,
I remember that was a fun duel to watch on, on the computer and stuff too. So that was just neat to see as well. So I enjoyed it.
That park is right downtown, and they just redid it. And so it was cool to see some people come across the street from being like, what is going on over here? And we actually had a pretty good crowd for it being 55 degrees on November 1st. But it was definitely a lot of fun, and we couldn't do it without guys like Mark Wharton and Jay Blackman and our whole staff, athletic department. They did a great job.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say, keeping with singlets, we've had those singlets that you guys have been wrestling in for a while. It's about time for at least throwing an update on those ones at least.
that's a game plan this year, is trying to change it up a little bit. We'll try to do something a little bit different. But I actually like our singlets now, but we got to have our guys like new singlets every couple of years.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, who doesn't? I mean, we're all gearheads to some extent, I'm sure. Like, I'm like that with shoes. I know Coach Purdy's like that with shoes. I mean, my goodness. Like,
I like the little tradition, so I might try and bring a little bit back of the old school singlets.
That'd be cool.
It looks similar to it, but still have a new twist on it.
No. Awesome. Cool deal. Well, I don't think I've got any other questions. We've gone off a little bit, asked a few. Tyler got one? Okay.
I was going to say, I just got one more. I mean, it's kind of a fun question that just kind of popped in my head.
Is it about aliens again?
It is, 100%. No.
He believes in aliens, okay?
Okay. We could go all day about aliens now. That would be fun. But no, coming from Big Ten, doesn't have to be a Big Ten school. It can be ACC. It can be any conference. Where is one of your favorite places, to go wrestle at on the road?
When I wrestle, or when I want to see my guys wrestle?
Either way.
I mean, you can't say no to Carver Hawkeye, right? I didn't get to wrestle Penn State when they became Penn State, right?
Gotcha.
I wrestled Molinaro, but Molinaro was like at the beginning of them starting to like turn things around. And so they didn't have the arena packed like they do now. Coaching, that place, there's only been 2 places that the hair on the back of my neck stood up coaching. And one was twice there. The Bryce Jordan Arena and their West Gym, or whatever it's called. And then UNI. Those 2 places got so loud, like,
wow,
it was nuts. And so Carver Hawkeye is a special place, and everybody deserves to wrestle there at least once. And I'm glad our guys got to this past year. But yeah, Penn State and UNI, they both had a great atmosphere, and those coaches have done great jobs of packing the place. And that's the one thing that we need to get to too, is packing McClellan or McKenzie, wherever if App State comes back here, we need to make John Mark's hair stand on the back of his neck, right? Put him in dark waters and make him feel uncomfortable. And so it could get loud in there. It definitely can. And I got to do my job. Our guys got to do their job, make sure they fight for every point and make it a battle. And then you guys will show up and make it super loud.
Sure. Definitely. All right. Hey, we really appreciate you coming on. It was fun. Glad you could do it. One of the things that we talked about a lot is like, with all this stuff going on, just finding new things. And it's like, how come it took us so long to realize that we could do these types of conferences and do things? And we'd love to have you back on maybe when all this is all said and done, and you can give us some updates on how people are feeling and doing, and how good it is to be out again. But we'd love to have you back on again, and we appreciate you being on with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Anytime.
All right. And then I'll work on getting everything uploaded. We'll have it all out tomorrow for everybody. So anything else you want to tell anybody? Like, is there any place that everybody should follow the program? What are the social media sites? Like what last minute, like, hey guys, come check us out here,
Yeah. Instagram, Twitter, all that social media stuff. My wife actually runs the Instagram, so that's a nice little plug for her, and she does a great job with it. And then Jay Blackman does all the great stuff on Facebook and stuff. So yeah, just follow online. They put something out every single day, even through this time. And so just keep following. We're really excited about this upcoming year with having 7 upperclassmen now in our starting lineup instead of freshmen or sophomores.
Wow. Yeah.
So we have 8 guys coming back in the starting lineup. And so it's going to be definitely a fun next 2-3 years with the recruits coming in, and then these younger guys becoming upperclassmen. So I'm looking forward to this next couple of years. That's for sure.
Great. Appreciate it.
Good to hear.
Chattanooga strong. You guys fight for every point. We'll talk to y'all later.
See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye-bye.